Andrew Borene is with us. He's Cyber Reason Managing Director. Andrew, welcome back to the program. First of all, have you any understanding of how this happened?
Yeah, I mean, it's an emerging picture of how this happened. An attack of this scale on a social media platform is unprecedented in the history, basically since we've had the internet and since the past decade of social media platforms really rising. And it looks like, as in most of these massive breaches, there's a human factor. And Twitter is currently reporting right now it may have been an insider working with an external group. And so, you know, again, I think the human factors involved in these complicated hacks are always something that have to be considered. And I think it's something many folks in the general public don't seem to necessarily understand, that there's a technology aspect and there's a human aspect. And that's why we need really sophisticated cyber threat intelligence and research platforms to get after these criminals and state-funded actors.
Well, do we have those platforms in place to do this?
Yeah, in fact, here at Cyber Reason, there's a group called Nocturnus, which is a global group of really advanced investigators. And, you know, not to get off topic, but similarly, Twitter was hacked. It's 360,000 some verified users, which are its most trusted users. And an operation called Soft Cell at Cyber Reason recently revealed that one of the most persistent threats on the internet, being funded by the Chinese government, looks to have been tracking daily patterns of life data on a number of telecom leaders and other leading individuals to map influence and sow chaos.
Andrew, I'm just getting this report here. The National Security Agency, the NSA, says a hacking group associated with Russian intelligence is targeting healthcare organizations in America, Canada, and Britain, looking for information on vaccines. It seems that the good guys are losing all across the board to the bad guys.
Well, I mean, I think you raise a really important point, that there are significant state threats to what we might consider Western stable democracy and U.S. and allied interests from advanced threats from China and from Russia. And not to digress too far from the Twitter the Twitter breach yesterday, this Russian activity seems to be targeting coronavirus research and vaccine research. It's also not just U.S. authorities saying that Russia may have been behind that, but also the United Kingdom's National Cybersecurity Center also released a report detailing the research they're doing on these hacks that are emerging this morning. So these are very serious considerations, and I think, you know, I know you've got a lot of CEOs watching the show, and I love being on your show, but if a CEO's verified Twitter account is abused and it impacts during trading day volume and a stock price goes down, that's one thing. But you got to think 187 countries now have verified Twitter accounts, and if a world leader or the representation of a formal country in the state of world politics and military affairs is hacked, yesterday's events should be very troubling to people, and we really need to amp up the good guys' resources to defend our networks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very troubling development. And supposing it had not just been a Bitcoin scam, supposing it had been some kind of totally fake message about Wall Street or a particular company, or some election result of some kind. And that's really serious stuff, Andrew. And I don't think at this point we're in a position to say that's not going to happen again. We're not there yet, are we?
No, and to your point, I think it's premature to say it's just a Bitcoin scam. This is a sophisticated breach leveraging an insider, and you have to think that this was at the platform level. Somebody hacked it. It appears at this point that someone may have hacked into administrative tools by Twitter with privileged user access. Maybe they used a human being as the conduit, but that doesn't mean that that's where it stops. I'm not sure that $100,000 or so in Bitcoin proceeds really is even remotely reflective of the scale of the damage that this breach causes and the undermining of public trust. And here in cybersecurity, just really quick, we talk about three aspects in cybersecurity: the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. This breach undermines every one of those three components of the triad.
Serious stuff, and we don't really have a handle on it at this point. Andrew, thanks for joining us. You explained it very well, and we appreciate that. Thank you.